Is animation going to be Chinese moviegoers' next fluffle? To quote Zootopia 2, the word means pack or buddy in this animated film, and it has definitely found an audience with the Chinese. According to Box Office Mojo, Zootopia 2 earned nearly half of its global revenue so far from the Chinese market, out of a total of more than $1 billion globally. And it's not the only one. Within 2 days after its China release, Avatar 3 already raked in over $28 million, and that number is expected to rise rapidly. Not to mention, earlier this year, the Chinese animated film Ne Zha 2 has become the top-selling animated film in the world ever. Is this just a fad, or is it a longer-term trend emerging? Can this potentially transform the global film industry? To shed light on this topic, I'm pleased to be joined from Los Angeles by Stanley Rosen, Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Southern California, and from Beijing by Han Hua, co-founder and Secretary General of the Beijing Club for International Dialogue. Welcome to both of you. Let me go to Professor Rosen first. Now, in 2025, in this year, China's mainland box office rebounded to $7 billion. That's accounting for about 1/4 of the global total, and that's second place in the world behind North America. And what's new this year, however, is that animation makes up nearly half of that number. So, Professor Rosen, help us understand what is going on.
Well, I think a number of things are going on. Number one, you have very high quality films, which took years to create. And these are films that had predecessors like Avatar, the first Zootopia, the first Ne Zha. And so there was a built-in audience waiting patiently for years for this to happen. The other thing I would say is that animation has real advantages over other genres, in that it can be dubbed into local languages, so that, for example, Avatar, Fire and Ash, 73%, more than 73% of its box office so far is outside North America. For Zootopia 2, more than 76% is outside North America. So these are films that resonate with global audiences. You have cute animals. You're not dealing with anything sensitive, politically, sociologically, economically. And these are the kinds of films, particularly Zootopia or Ne Zha or The Legend of Hay, to look at another Chinese animated film that's very, very good. I enjoyed that a lot. And there are two of them now. These are films you can take your children to more than once. They want to see it more than once, to pick up on things they missed the first time and to relive that experience. That's not true of any other genre. So it's got these built-in advantages.
Han Hua, what do you see as the phenomenon that we're seeing here? That is it that the Chinese people all of a sudden found animation films so much more enjoyable in the cinemas? What could have potentially started this trend? Is this a trend picking up pace every year?
Yes, it is a trend picking up, a pace on yearly basis. But first thing first, thanks for having me. I'm a huge fan of Zootopia, and when Avatar the first released many years ago, a decade ago, I was in News Corp China, so the parent company of 20th Century Fox. So I witnessed the whole process of the release and the marketing friends of the Avatar first. So I recognize that animation or Chinese film industry is growing on a very fast speed as a whole, and animation as a particular genre is picking up as a faster speed. This is because first, China has a great reservoir of animation stories like our folk tales from the culture, from the history. The second is that the new generation, which is going with the major moviegoer nowadays, has been educated, has been grown up with this animation industry from Hollywood, from Japanese animation film, from their childhood. So this audience contributes a great base of the nowadays audience, moviegoers. The third is that the animation is less political, less socially challenging, but can create a great story regarding the socially development, a person's growth, and the great storytelling. Of course, in addition to that, this is the growing technology development in China's filmmaking industry, like the content generated image, like the AI assisted technology. So this all helps the new trend become a fundamental shift in the movie industry.
Professor Rosen, is there a clear distinction between Chinese and foreign moviegoers in terms of when it comes to animation films, or is it a universal language?
I think it's a universal language, and that's why I used to give lectures every year at the annual Beijing film screenings, because there was a big concern about how can we make Chinese films more successful internationally. And what I said, going back more than 10 years, is that animation is the way to go, because you're dealing, as I said, with cute animals. You're not dealing with any politically sensitive issues. You're not dealing with any cultural differences. Because as Hanhua was suggesting, China has all these stories to tell, but they don't always resonate with people outside China who don't know Chinese culture that well, or Chinese history that well, or Chinese myths and legends that well. But animation is a way to get this across. And so I think animation really has a future in terms of China, because Chinese innovation is now being acknowledged worldwide as kind of the global pace setter in all fields. So technology it really belongs to China at the moment.
Well, we were just looking at images of Ne Zha 2, but again, I want to focus a little bit more on Zootopia 2. I saw it over the weekend with my son, and we both had a good time. I was really, again, I'm restless if I sit somewhere too long, but in that cinema, I was totally comfortable and enjoying myself. So it has made a big splash, as I was talking about, and China contributed nearly half of its global box office. According to Hollywood Reporter, the film surpassed $1 billion worldwide in just 17 days. At that point, it had earned about $260 million in North America, while China accounted for nearly half of the global total. So, Hanhua, what does this case reveal about the changing balance between North America and China in shaping global box office outcomes?
Well, I think...
Thanks for sharing your own
Sorry, this
fortune.
is for Hanhua, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing your personal experiences. I have to confess that what I did over the weekend is to review the Zootopia first, and then I reserve it, to do it with my family. What I want to say is that the Zootopia first, when it was released, Hollywood regarded the Chinese market more as a marketing tool, and also, of course, an additional market for its box office. But this box office and this market certainly surpassed the original expectations of the revenue. So I think when Zootopia the second was released, Chinese market is not only regarded as an additional market, but as a dual engine of this market revenue, meaning that Hollywood needs to do the marketing from the very first, in the first place, to set up its marketing strategy, to build its marketing strategy around not only Hollywood or North America audience, but also the Chinese audience, meaning that it needs, for example, the director wrote this thanks letter to the Chinese audience in particular, right. Some other marketing tactics to be made, to be targeted towards the Chinese audience as well. And the storytelling, I have to say that it is also built around the Chinese audience. This audience is not only about the young people, not only about the children, but also about the middle class, but also about the moviegoers that are keen to find some answers, not only the entertaining factors, but also some answers that they felt anxiety, they felt complexity in their day-to-day life. So I think this means the significance of Zootopia's too, the team, the marketing efforts, and their importance. They are attaching great importance to the Chinese market in particular.
Professor Rosen, what were you going to say? Why is Zootopia hitting the Chinese particularly well? What about it?
Well, one thing, yeah, let me kind of follow up on what Hanhua just said, because the marketing to me is absolutely crucial. And what Disney did with their theme park starting in 2023 was to have a special section for Zootopia. They also combined with Starbucks, Xingbake, and a lot of other things, a lot of other places in China to have all these promotions. So you get a mug, Zootopia mug, and so on. That's crucial. They haven't been able to do that with most films. Before December, the biggest Hollywood film was the Jurassic World film, which barely wasn't even in the top 10, and made what, 79 million US dollars, something like that. So everybody was waiting in Hollywood, because I'm from Hollywood, really. Everybody was waiting to see what Zootopia 2 and Avatar 3 would do, because up until then, Hollywood was getting very little of the market. Well over 80% of the market is for Chinese domestic films. And if Zootopia 2 and Avatar 3 didn't succeed, Hollywood was completely doomed in China. So this gives them a ray of hope. But how many Zootopias and how many Avatars are there? I think the only possible hope is Avengers, the next Avengers film, because that always does very well in China too.
Yeah, so I got about 2 minutes left. One question, very quick, to Hanhua, and probably one sentence from Rosen again. How will this affect the Chinese film industry? We have Ne Zha, ranking really top among the world. How is this going to affect Chinese movie makers in the near future? Hanhua, very quickly, please.
Thank you. I think the revenue and the market effect will definitely intrigue the movie makers, the industry players, to contribute more efforts in every factor of the movie production, from the marketing, from the focus group study, from digging more into Chinese rich cultural reservoir to find out more good stories and to do more storytelling tactics combining with the high tech.
And Professor Rosen, how might what has happened in China this year in terms of animation affect Chinese movie making in the future?
Well, to me, the big issue was China getting their films seen in the global marketplace. They have no problem controlling the domestic market. That's a given. The problem is, how do you compete with Hollywood outside the China market? And that's the big challenge that China has to face.
Any big keyword in your mind? Again, animation? Professor Rosen?
Animation, I've been saying this for more than 10 years. Animation is the best option for China.
All right, let's keep a close watch on the situation. But again, always a pleasure to go to the cinema, and it's refreshing to talk about cinema on this program. Many thanks to my guest, Hanhua, co-founder and Secretary General of Beijing Club for International Dialogue, and Professor Stanley Rosen, Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Southern California. Thank you very much.